If you're trying to decide between Daniel Island and Mount Pleasant, you're not alone. I work with buyers relocating to Charleston all the time, and this is a big decision. On paper, these two areas look very similar, but once you live here, they actually feel quite different day to day. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the real lifestyle differences, talk about who each area tends to work best for, and share a few things that surprise people once they've actually moved here. By the end, you should have a much clearer sense of which one fits your next chapter. Before we dive in, I want to say this. There isn't a wrong choice. Daniel Island and Mount Pleasant are both excellent places to live, and the lifestyle of each is top-notch. The key is figuring out which one aligns with how you actually want your days to feel. Daniel Island tends to resonate most with people who really value community and walkability. If you like the idea of walking, biking, or even hopping on a golf cart to get to restaurants, trails, parks, the pool, or community events, Daniel Island often feels very easy and connected. It's especially popular with people entering a new chapter, empty nesters, families with older kids, or buyers relocating who want to quickly feel like they belong. There's a strong neighborhood feel on Daniel Island. You'll see familiar faces at places like the Dime on the waterfront, and you'll constantly run into people you know at Publix. For many people, that sense of connection is a huge plus. For others, especially those who value privacy, it can feel like neighbors are in each other's business a little too much. With homes closer together, it's sometimes hard not to notice what's going on around you. That's not a negative for everyone, but it is something to keep in mind. One thing that surprises many people when they move here is how quickly daily routines take shape. On Daniel Island, life often becomes very centered around the island itself. Schools, sports, shopping, healthcare, and restaurants are located on Daniel Island. People are surprised by how little they leave once they settle in. For some, that feels comforting and efficient. For others, it takes a little adjustment. Mount Pleasant, on the other hand, tends to appeal to buyers who want more variety and flexibility. It's made up of many different neighborhoods, each with its own personality. Some areas feel very quiet and residential, while others are more active and close to shopping, dining, and the beaches. If you like having options and don't mind driving a bit more day to day, Mount Pleasant can be a great fit. For many buyers relocating from larger metro areas, it also feels familiar while still offering a coastal lifestyle. Another similarity between the two areas is the variety of housing options. On Daniel Island, you'll find single-family homes, townhomes, condos, and apartments. You'll also find opportunities for waterfront living, including homes with marsh views, creek front, and deep water access. Because the island is planned, these options tend to be located fairly close together. In Mount Pleasant, you'll find many of the same housing types. Single-family homes, townhomes, condos, apartments, and waterfront properties are all available. The difference is that they're spread out across a much larger area. Think suburbia. That variety can be a big advantage, but it also means that narrowing your location can take a bit longer. It's also worth mentioning long-term living options. On Daniel Island, there is a 55-plus apartment community along with independent living and assisted living options. For many buyers, that provides peace of mind and the ability to stay in the same general area as needs change over time. Mount Pleasant offers similar opportunities, including 55-plus communities and assisted living. Those options are simply more geographically spread out. Let's talk about traffic. This is another big quality of life factor all over Charleston, and it looks different in each area. In Mount Pleasant, traffic can be heavy on major corridors like Highway 17, Highway 41, and Coleman Boulevard, especially during peak commute times. In the summer, beach traffic adds another layer of traffic. Getting to Sullivan's Island or Isle of Palms can take significantly longer on weekends and holidays. Pro tip: if you are heading to the beach on the weekend, getting there before 10 a.m. makes a huge difference in terms of avoiding traffic and finding parking. And the bridge to Sullivan's Island opens to let tall boats through every hour on the hour during the summer, which can cause even more backups. So time your trip accordingly. The other advantage of going to the beach early is that you also leave early and avoid the traffic that's leaving going the other way. On Daniel Island, there isn't really traffic on the island itself, but getting on and off the island usually means using Interstate 526. Traffic can back up in one direction because of the Don Holt Bridge. In the other direction, congestion can come from trucks exiting at Long Point Road to get to the port. Clements Ferry Road is another way on and off the island, and that can also get backed up during peak commute times. Most residents, though, learn the rhythm of traffic fairly quickly, but it's important to understand where those pinch points are. Another thing that surprises newcomers is how seasonal life feels here. Summer brings more visitors, beach traffic, and a busier pace. Tourists are more focused on downtown during fall and winter, but with school and activities back in session, traffic is still an issue. A lot of people don't realize how much the rhythm of the year affects daily life until they experience it themselves. Daily movement is another area where these two locations feel different. Daniel Island is very self-contained. Many people live, work out, dine, and socialize without leaving the island very often. And that can feel incredibly convenient. It can also feel limiting if you enjoy variety. Mount Pleasant generally involves more driving, but it also connects you quickly to downtown Charleston, the beaches, and shopping areas. So if you prefer staying close to home, Daniel Island often fits the bill. If you like getting out and about, Mount Pleasant may feel easier. Social life also tends to form differently on Daniel Island. Connections often happen more organically through neighborhood events, walking trails, and shared spaces. Many people find that very welcoming. In Mount Pleasant, social life is more spread out. People often build community through specific neighborhoods, gyms, clubs, churches, or hobbies. Neither approach is better. It really just depends on how you like relationships to form. Pace of life is another big differentiator. Daniel Island generally feels calmer and more intentional, while Mount Pleasant can feel busier, especially during peak hours or tourist seasons. For some people, that energy feels exciting, but for others, it feels like noise. This is often where people start to feel one area pulling them more strongly than the other. I also encourage buyers to think long-term, not just about the first year. Ask yourself how you want your days to feel 5 or 10 years from now. Do you want a place that encourages routine and walkability, or one that offers flexibility as your needs change? Both areas can work long term. They just support different lifestyles over time. Something I hear from buyers after they move is that people who choose Mount Pleasant sometimes wish they had narrowed neighborhoods more carefully. Mount Pleasant is unofficially divided into North Mount Pleasant and South Mount Pleasant. North Mount Pleasant is north of the Isle of Palms connector, while South Mount Pleasant is south of the Isle of Palms connector. Each offers a completely different vibe and housing choices, and the experience can vary a lot from one area to another. These aren't deal breakers, they're simply things people don't always anticipate until they've lived here for a bit. Having realistic expectations up front usually leads to a much happier move. If you're relocating to Charleston and deciding between Daniel Island and Mount Pleasant, it's okay if this decision takes time. This isn't about finding the best area. It's about finding the right fit for how you want to live. If this video helped you think through that, feel free to subscribe. I share weekly videos breaking down Charleston area neighborhoods and what it's really like to live here. Be sure to grab my Moving to Mount Pleasant and Moving to Daniel Island guides by clicking on the link in the description. And if you're ready to talk through your situation one-on-one, I'm always happy to help.